the new UFC middleweight champion, the one and only Khamzat Chimaev. The UFC is in desperate need of saving its sinking ship, and they have found their new hero in Khamzat Chimaev. This man has come out of nowhere to become the new middleweight champion in just 6 UFC fights. And honestly, he may not even be close to his peak right now. So what makes him so special? What makes him unstoppable? And how will he look when he becomes a fully grown man? Let's dive into this video and find out. Born on May 1st, 1994, Khamzat is just 28 years old and has plenty of time left to grow. But even at this young age, he has done things that most fighters never dream of doing. He is currently riding a 12-fight win streak with 11 finishes, and the only fight he didn't finish was against the legendary Israel Adesanya for the middleweight title. He won that fight by decision in a back-and-forth war, and he did it in spectacular fashion. He had the crowd on their feet in the 5th round. It was one of the best performances by any fighter in 2023, not just for the middleweight division, but for all divisions in the whole of MMA. If you haven't seen that fight, please go and watch it. You are missing out on one of the best modern-day MMA fights. In his last fight, he defended his newly acquired middleweight strap against the No. 1 contender Paulo Costa. In that fight, there was no doubt in anyone's mind who deserved to win that fight. Even though Khamzat lost a point due to an illegal kick, he still dominated every second of that fight. His striking power was too much for Costa to handle. In fact, if not for Costa's chin, then this fight could have ended in the first round itself. But nonetheless, Chimaev finished the fight in the 2nd round. He is the real deal. But let me ask you a question. Do you think that Khamzat Chimaev is the guy who will lead the UFC to glory, or do you think the UFC's ship is already sinking and there is no coming back from that? Let us know your opinion in the comments below. How did Khamzat Chimaev start? What was his life like before the UFC? Khamzat Chimaev is from Sweden. His father is from Chechnya and his mother is from Kyrgyzstan. Most of his family members are Muslim, which is why he practices Islam. As a child, he would always fight with the older kids just because he liked fighting. When he was just 16 years old, he started training in wrestling. That is where he really honed his skills, and that is where he developed his love for combat sports. From there, he went on to train at the Alliance team, which is also the home gym of the legendary Khamzat Chimaev. Later on, he started training at the Chechen Tigers camp. Both of these are world-famous MMA gyms, and it is very hard to get accepted into either one of them. This shows that Khamzat Chimaev is no ordinary guy. He has something special inside him, something that has allowed him to break through all barriers and achieve his goals. He made his professional MMA debut in October of 2018. He had 2 fights that year, and both of them ended in the 1st round via finish. Then, in 2019, he had 3 more fights, and again, all of them ended in the 1st round via finish. So basically, up until the year 2020, he had 5 professional fights, and all of them ended in the 1st round via finish. This shows that even at the start of his career, this guy was a savage. He was a beast. He was someone who was meant to be in the UFC. All the top promotions in Europe were after him. But the UFC was the first to strike. They gave him a contract, and that was the best decision the UFC had made in years. On July 16, 2020, Khamzat Chimaev made his UFC debut against John Phillips at UFC on ESPN 13, and he did what he does best. He finished his opponent in the 1st round via rear naked choke. From there, he was given another fight just a month later against Rhys McKee at UFC Fight Night 178. Once again, he finished his opponent in the 1st round, this time via technical knockout. So now we had the fights, the wins, both in the 1st round. People were starting to take notice of this guy. They could see that he was special. Then came his toughest test. It was a fight against the highly touted Gerald Meerschaert at UFC Vegas 11. And once again, he did what he does best. He finished his opponent in the 1st round. Now, you must be thinking that this guy is just lucky. He is just fighting low-ranked opponents, and that is why he is getting all those finishes. In the 1st round, well, that's where you are wrong, because in his next fight, he faced off against Li Jingliang, who was a top 15 welterweight at the time. And once again, he did what he does best. He finished his opponent in the 1st round. Honestly, this guy was looking unstoppable. There was no one in the welterweight division who could stop him. He had power, speed, technique, chin, wrestling, grappling, you name it. At this point, everyone was talking about Khamzat Chimaev. He had become the face of the UFC. But then came his biggest challenge yet. It was a fight against the number 3 ranked contender at welterweight, Leon Edwards. This was a match made in hell because if Chimaev won this fight, then he would become the new #1 contender. But if Edwards won this fight, then he would cement himself as the top contender. And as expected, Edwards put up a tough fight. For 5 full rounds, they went back and forth. In the end, the judges awarded the victory to Khamzat Chimaev. Even though this was a controversial decision, the fact of the matter is that Chimaev had won, and that's all that mattered. After defeating Edwards, Chimaev was given a shot at the welterweight title. Unfortunately, he came up short against Israel Adesanya, but the fight was so good that the UFC gave them a rematch right away. And this time around, Chimaev was victorious. He became the new UFC middleweight champion. Now, some people might say that Khamzat Chimaev is overrated. They might say that he hasn't fought anyone good, and that's why he's the champion. But let me ask you a question. If someone is beating everyone that the UFC puts in front of them, then what more do you want from that person? All you can do is respect them and bow down to them. That's exactly what the UFC is doing with Khamzat Chimaev. They are putting him in front of the biggest stars in the middleweight division, and he is coming out on top. That's why he is the champion. Some people might say that Khamzat Chimaev is a product of the new UFC matchmaking. According to them, the UFC has been feeding him weak opponents, and that's why he is undefeated. But let me ask you this, is it really bad to feed an up-and-coming star easy opponents? Think about it. If you are the UFC and you have a new exciting prospect in your hands, would you risk ruining that prospect by putting him in tough fights? Of course not. That's why they feed these prospects easy opponents. It's called matchmaking, and it's nothing new. It's been going on for years. Take Conor McGregor, for example. He came into the UFC with a lot of hype. Everyone was talking about him, and the UFC knew that they had a star in their hands. So what did they do? They fed him easy opponents. In his first 6 fights in the UFC, he only fought one guy who had a winning record. That guy was Marcus Brimage, and he was coming off a loss. So basically, you could say that Conor McGregor was 5-0 against non-ranked opponents. Yet somehow he became the biggest star in the company. It's the same story with Khamzat Chimaev. He is 5-0 against low-ranked opponents, yet somehow he has become the biggest star in the company. The moral of the story is that Khamzat Chimaev is the real deal. He is the future of the UFC, and he is the hero that the company needs. He is strong, powerful, and most importantly, he is undefeated. If you don't believe me, then just wait until his next fight. He will prove to you once again why he is the best in the game. We hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe for more updates.